Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on whether you're joining us today. Thank you for joining this NG Drive Tuesday section. For those of you who are new today, NJ Drive Small Business webinars, it's basically weekly webinars that we provide to small businesses to help them start, grow, and thrive. And your host today, Gloria Marabru, Assistant Coordinator here at NJSBDC. And NJSBDC stands for New Jersey Small Business Development Centers Network. And we are a statewide program powered by the SBA and partners to help small businesses and potential small businesses owners in New Jersey with three things: no-cost small business consulting, training and events starting at zero cost, and exclusive small business resources, just like this one. Here you can see a map with like all the counties and spaces where you can find local SBDC. So feel free to go to njsbdc.com to find yours. Today, our section is part of our NJ Drive Tuesdays, where we basically help small businesses, potential small businesses owners to register with zero NJSBDC support, zero cost. So a few things to keep in mind. And in today's agenda, it's that we're going to go over some headlines, some news that might be relevant to you as small business owners or entrepreneur. And then we're going to go over our presentation with our great speaker. And then we're going to go over our Q&A section. So I'm going to change my screen view so I can share with you our headlines for today. First, we have this article from the SBA that says that the SBA opens to business recovery centers to support business at May Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. So if this is relevant for you, you can see all the information and even see that there is a loan that you can potentially apply. Here's the deadline for that application, and here are some contact information in case you have any further questions. I'm going to be dropping the link in the chat for all these links, for all these articles, I'm sorry, so you can have them later and take a look with more pause. Let me just change this bar. Second headline for today, it's this platform called SBA Tribe, and it's created by the SBA, and it's basically to help small businesses thrive. Again, you can find relevant resources here. You can find an expert that you can train with and have professional coaching. So again, if this is something that you are interested in, you can apply here. And last but not least, we have this article from NJBIA that it's announcing the 2024 New Jersey International Trade Awards. So if you're someone that maybe that complies with the profile that they're looking for, you can apply to be recognized as a New Jersey latent exporter. This is happening on May 15, 2024, but registrations are open. So feel free to go to this link once I put it in the chat, so you can have all the information and maybe apply to that. So continuing with our agenda today, again, I'm going to be dropping all the links in the chat. So just give me a few minutes. But in the meantime, a few things to keep in mind: type your questions in the Q&A box, just so you know. And for those of you who are new, this is a webinar, and like this Zoom space provided to you today is a webinar, so we're not able to see you or hear you if you're trying to speak or raising your hand. So the best way to communicate is through questions that you type, and we answer once we see them. And it's better for us if you type them in the Q&A box in your toolbox instead of the chat. I'm going to be sharing a 3-minute survey. Some of you may have seen it since I just put it in the chat before I started. So those of you who joined early may have the survey, but I'll drop it in the link. I've dropped the link in the chat for those of you who haven't, and you can complete that survey to have the webinar resources that our speaker is going to be trained today. And also let us know how we're doing. That's really important. And we want to make sure that we are providing you with all the tools and information that you need. And last thing is that this webinar is being recorded in case you have to jump, in case you want to share this webinar with someone that you think maybe benefit from this information that it's being shared today, you can do that. And I'll be dropping the link in the chat. The recording is going to be available in the next couple of days. So today, without further ado, we're having Vanessa Schwartz. She is a startup consultant here at NJSBDC, and she's going to be walking us through the process of registering our businesses in New Jersey. The title is NJSBDC Blueprint for Businesses Registration Success in New Jersey. So Vanessa, hi.
Hello.
I'm
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for being here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you can start your presentation.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and then we can get started.
Perfect.
Let's see. Here we go. Share. All right, all good?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about business formation and registration today. I'm going to talk a little bit mostly about the limited liability company, the LLC, but to understand in more detail where the LLC falls on the spectrum of business structure, we're going to talk a little bit about what other choices there are out there for business owners in terms of formation and registration and doing business in New Jersey. So here we go. Business structures, alluded to that. We'll touch upon some of the choices you have as business owners. We'll touch upon the formation registration process in New Jersey. There are state regulations with respect to doing business. There are tax implications. Certainly, there's funding and cash management that comes into play when we're trying to start a business. And any additional needs that small business owners need to think about as they're starting their formation journey. We will also at the end talk a little bit more about the SBDC and how we're here to help you through your growth and to help you realize any opportunities that might be out there as small business owners. So whether you're taking this hobby that you have to the next level, or if you're somebody who is a professional in your own space and are really ready to maybe take that professional service or that professional experience you've had and do it for yourself as a business owner, this is a good exercise for you to learn about the ins and outs of business ownership, especially doing business here in New Jersey, and utilize our services for any sort of mentorship at no cost to you for counseling and educational programming. Okay, so the first type of business structure we'll address is called the sole proprietorship. The sole proprietorship is basically a business owner who wants to conduct business on his or her behalf. They can apply for a trade name at their respective county clerk's office that provides them with a business name in which to represent themselves as they're conducting business. The name is typically unique within the county and costs about $50, $60 in order to establish a trade name. There's no difference between the person and the business. The business represents the person doing the business. You don't have any kind of legal or separation between yourself and the business, but you are establishing a trade name so you can go by and represent your company, advertise, market yourself In terms of the income taxes and how they are paid for the additional income you may earn as a sole proprietorship, you could use your social security number as your tax ID, or you can get an employer identification number, otherwise known as the EIN, from the IRS. The IRS website allows for a very easy, no-cost application in order to apply for an EIN. Reasons why a sole proprietor may decide to go with the EIN as opposed to just using the social security number. In fact, I would even say it's highly recommended that you do it. It doesn't cost anything. And you don't then have to use your social security every time you need to fill out a form, or if you're doing a W-9 or you're filling out something for taxes or whatnot, or exemptions. You have to put your tax ID number, you're asked for it. So if you apply for an EIN as a sole proprietor, even though you don't have to, it is a good way to protect your identity and to get a tax ID number for your business. Personal banking accounts are perfectly acceptable for use when you are a sole proprietor. You don't have to open up a separate business bank account. You can commingle your funds. If you are doing something and you are paid for your service or for your product, you're more than welcome to deposit those funds into a personal account. You still want to keep your bookkeeping. You want to understand that you're recording your sales, keeping track of your expenses for income tax purposes, but you don't have to use a separate business bank account. Tax filings are very simple. For the sole proprietor, you are allowed to use a Schedule C attachment to your personal income tax return. So no separate tax filing. It's just an attached Schedule C, which would ask for your trade name, your tax ID number, your sales recorded, any expenses incurred, and ultimately you'll be able to show what your profit, your net profit is, and that is what you will pay income tax on. It'll pass through straight to your personal tax return, and then at that point you'll be able to pay all your taxes on that number. So once again, no legal separation between you, the owner, and the business. But the downside, here we go, is you have absolutely no liability protection. So any sort of litigation, lawsuit, debt issue that comes into play that is related to that business can impact you personally, and personally in a financial sense. So it's something to keep in mind. Okay, so now we're going to get into actual business entities. Now we're moving beyond the sole proprietorship. And if you look at it on a continuum basis, the limited liability company is the next, if you will, business choice that you might have that now brings you into a true business entity that is separate from you, the person. The cost to form an LLC in New Jersey is $125. There is a processing fee, whether you use a debit or credit card, or you can use an e-check. And you are required to pay $75 a year to maintain your LLC in good standing. That occurs at the anniversary of your formation date. So about a year in, well, let's just say maybe about 7 months in, you'll get a notice from the state that you're coming due. Your year anniversary is coming up of your formation. Please file your annual report. Filing an annual report is nothing other than logging into the portal and providing your credit or debit or e-check information and paying your dues. It sounds scary. It sounds like it's a big process that I'm filing reports, but it's what it's called, filing an annual report, but it's logging in, making sure everything is still, nothing's changed, and basically saying, yes, I'm still in business, here I am, and here's my $75, and you shouldn't have to pay again until the following year. You are expected to apply for a tax ID number as an LLC from the IRS. That EIN application, when you're there, you will apply on behalf of the LLC. And the names must match. So whatever name you choose for your LLC will be the name that you put on to your legal. It'll ask for what the legal business name is. Now we're not talking trade names anymore. Now we're talking legal business name. That is the other difference, I should say, is that whereas a sole proprietor, you have a trade name that really, it typically should be unique within your county. The LLC legal business name, when looking that up, has to be unique in the whole state of New Jersey. So there is a database where you can look it up and make sure that the name is available. So you apply for your tax ID number. And then there is a requirement, as opposed to the sole proprietorship, that for an LLC, you would, it would be mandatory for you to open up a separate business bank account, and it is required in the name of the business and under the tax ID number. And in terms of income taxes, LLCs are very flexible structure. And what's nice about them, it's actually one of the pros of an LLC, is that it's very flexible in how you can choose to distribute the profits, how you can invest in the business if there's more than one person, and also how you wish to be taxed. So what does that mean? Well, LLCs can either choose to be taxed as a single member. That's if there's just one of you. You get the benefit of defaulting to that Schedule C that we just spoke about. So even though you're not a sole proprietorship, you are an LLC, you can choose to be taxed as a sole proprietor using the Schedule C single member filing. If you're more than one person in an LLC, it's called a multi-member LLC. You use the Form 1065. That's a traditional partnership tax filing method. You're not a partnership. You are a multi-member LLC, but you can choose to be taxed as if you were a partnership. And lastly, you have the option to be taxed as a corporation. Once again, you're not the corporation, you're the LLC, but you have the option. Now, there might be reasons why you may choose the Form 1120. That's something we can get into a little bit maybe later, something you would discuss with an accountant. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there's flexibility on how you wish to be taxed, depending on how many are in the company and some other issues or questions about your business, to see which of these methods is most tax advantageous for you at the time. You get the limited liability protection here. So now, because you are separate and you're not commingling funds, and you do have that veil that separates you, the person, from the business, it does provide more security than if you were a sole proprietor. So the next level up, we have the corporation. Corporation has the strongest liability protection. There are additional requirements as a corporation. If you decide to incorporate, you are expected to establish bylaws for your corporation. You will need to create a board of directors. There are shareholder meetings that are expected, and the tax filing for a corporation is very different. Corporations must file a separate tax return for the company. The company is subject to a corporate tax rate, and then any profits thereafter are distributed to the shareholders and as dividends, and you would, as an owner of the business, pay taxes on that profit. So you can see where there is a double taxation issue for a corporation. You're paying taxes at two levels. The corporation, the company, pays its tax, and then as any shareholder in that company pays tax on profits. Why would a small business decide to incorporate? There are reasons. It's not that common, but depending on the type of business that you are forming, sometimes having the strongest veil of liability protection might be necessary for what you do. I can think of a couple of examples. You might see a home building or a general contractor decide to incorporate. You may see trucking businesses incorporate. Sometimes there are certain business to business requirements where a certain business only wishes to contract out to corporations because of liability issues. So it might depend. And it sounds, sometimes it might sound a little silly to be a small business and, have one owner and have a shareholder meeting by yourself and, a board of directors, but it is done. You do keep the paperwork. It does happen. There are small businesses that do decide to incorporate, and you can actually avoid the double taxation if you are a small business and wish to incorporate by applying for S Corp status. We're going to talk a little bit about the S Corp in a minute, but just so you know that in order to for a small business, if the big corporate C Corp doesn't seem to make sense from tax purpose or side of it, you can apply for the S Corp status, which I'll explain. So the one thing I want to say, even we'll go back before we get into S Corp, is that the sole proprietor, so far we discussed, the LLC and the corporation, all three of those choices ultimately require you to still, after formation, register the business in New Jersey with the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. So what do I mean by that? So it is not enough just to form your business entity. In New Jersey, it is sort of a separate process. In other states, and I can't even get into it because I don't really know all the other states and what they do, but I have heard or I have seen that the process seems to be more in one fell swoop where you form, you register, you're done. Very often in New Jersey, and I have been doing this for a while and I see it all the time, people will form, either they'll go to the county clerk's office and get their sole prop, or they'll go to online at the portal and they'll form their LLC, form their corporation, and they think they're done. You're not done. You're not legally allowed to transact business under your trade name or under your legal business name of the LLC or corporation until you have registered the business. Forming is not registering. You have to take the formed business entity and register with the Division of Revenue and Enterprise Services. I know I just said that, but I'm going to say it again. And this is for taxation purposes. It's quick. It's about 15, 20 minutes long it takes. It's all done online. And you're asked questions about the nature of your business, how you wish to be taxed, who owns the business, what are the percent shares, will you be collecting sales tax? That lets New Jersey know what's going on, that they know what's going on and what to expect from you. And then that gives you, once you get your registration certificate, you can proceed and you can transact. So, and we're going to talk more about that. So just real quick, I'm not going to go too crazy into it, but the S Corp is an option. Okay, so it's not a legal business entity. People think, oh, I'm an S Corp, I'm an S Corp. Really, you're either an LLC that chooses to be taxed as a corporation. Remember, we talked about that, or in this case, the S Corp. Or you're a corporation who decides to file for the subchapter S. So what does that mean? Is that it's a tax designation. It's not so much legal. So S Corp option for corporations, it's a change in tax status. It helps you avoid that double taxation. It takes away the double taxation. It permits the business owner under the S Corp code to pass the income, the taxable income, to your own personal tax return. And there's some stipulations. If you're a corporation, you have to have under 100 shareholders. It can only be common stock, not preferred. So as long as you fall within that category, you have that option to apply for subchapter S as a corporation. Why would an LLC find the benefit to be taxed as a corporation? In this case, it would be your tax as a corporation, but you as well would apply for that S Corp option. Is that at a certain point in LLC income, you could find a time in your journey where it is more tax advantageous to be taxed as an S Corp. The reason being is that LLC owners or members are owners. They're not on payroll. They're not employees of their company. You draw your income from the profits. And as self-employed individuals, you pay self-employment taxes. It can be burdensome. It's burdensome. You're taking on the full tax burden of the employment of yourself as an owner of this business. When you reach a certain threshold, some small businesses, LLCs, say they would like to put themselves as owners on payroll, and you can do that if you are taxed as an S Corp. By doing that now, you have a different profit structure, and you're lowering your profit and probably your self-employment tax burden, but now taking on the role as employee of your company. And when you're an employee of a company, you are withholding a certain amount of tax for yourself. And then as the employer, you're withholding a certain amount of tax for your employee. And by the way, that's tax deductible for the company. So I'm not an accountant. We don't give private personal accounting advice. You would speak to your own accountant about this, but we just want to educate you that these are options. Okay. Now, I'm going to focus for the rest of the presentation on the LLC. What I want to say is through all of this is that if you wish to have this done correctly and you're afraid to do it on yourself and you don't want to spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars using a third party, get in touch with us. Request counseling. We will walk you through the whole process, start to finish, including through the registration process, and make sure it is done correctly. Now, the system allows for you to do it on your own. It's not meant to be done, at least on the LLC level. Corporate stuff can get more complicated, but the LLC, the sole proprietor, it's an on, whether you go to the county clerk and do that through the sole proprietorship and then register right online at the portal, or whether you do the LLC formation online, it's meant to be done by the business owner. It's asking you the questions, and it should be user-friendly. Having said that, we all know dealing with the state and the government, nothing is ever clear. Sometimes we think we know what we're doing, and then it gets confusing. We totally get it. So if you sit with us, we can walk you through it over the phone or in person, and we'll make sure that you answer all the questions the right way. You're comfortable, you know the terminology, you know where to go. It's your business. You need to know how to get onto the website, go to the portal and be like, okay, I need this document here. Let me go to the portal and put my info in, got it. Same thing with the IRS. IRS.gov, njportal.com. Those are your main resources. You want to deal with the source, not looking through, you can get very confused online. You can go down to some bad places. So we'll make sure that you're comfortable with the sites. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out. Make sure you know what your obligations are, your legal requirements, and keep you on track with what documents are needed and need to be printed out, what you want to keep, what you'll need for the bank when you go to open up a business bank account. So it's all mentorship and assistance and no cost to you. So we'll let you know how you can request counseling. You request counseling, we'll walk you through it, and you can have peace of mind. So this is a whole slide on me reminding everybody, don't forget to register. So it just says that in order to transact business, remember, after you form, you must register. And then there's a new requirement from the federal government. There's one more online sort of survey application you have to fill out. Right now, they are giving new businesses formed after January 1st, for this year at least, in 2024, 90 days, up to 90 days to fill out this last beneficial ownership information report. It's basically just asking, it's a federal database, and it's keeping track of all the new LLCs that are being formed throughout the country. And it's pretty straightforward. You'll need to have a unique business name in New Jersey. You'll need to have your EIN. Again, that comes from the IRS. It's free. Don't pay for it. Don't get stuck on a site that asks for all your information and then prompts you for $250, put your credit debit card in. It is free. You'll need a registered agent. Who's a registered agent? Basically, it's the person you assign to represent your company and be the point of contact for the state in case somebody has to come find you, either mail something to you or knock on the door and literally come find you. It really just means, don't put a PO box as some registered agent address. You can be your own registered agent. New Jersey allows the business owner to represent themselves in this case. Or if you'd rather not be the point contact, you can hire a registered agent. So if you have questions, we can go into that more. If you're more than one owner, known as a multi-member LLC, you'll need an operating agreement. The cost, once again, is $125. This is for the LLC formation, and all of that can be done right online. And then lastly, you'll need to have the names and addresses and social security numbers of all the owners or members, owners, same thing for LLC. You have to have that handy and ready to go because that'll come up in the registration. Okay, again, you'll need to know how you wish to be taxed, whether you want to do the single member, Schedule C, if you're more than one, pick the 1065, or if you do choose to be taxed as a corporation. Because that are questions that are required to be answered in the registration piece. You're going to need to know if your goods or services are subject to New Jersey state sales tax. So that's something that we'll go over with you. Some things are obvious, some things are not obvious. There are resources through the Division of Taxation, links to go and look to see if your item is subject to New Jersey state sales tax. If it is, then you will need to collect that sales tax, hold it, and remit it at the end of each quarter. Also, if you're selling goods that are subject to sales tax, you are going to be making exempt purchases, meaning if you're purchasing the goods in New Jersey as the business who is going to then sell them to the end user, you yourself would not pay sales tax on that good, and you would provide an exemption certificate. So these are the kind of things that we can help you understand a little bit better, go over. We do it all the time, so you can always answer questions on that. Some businesses require additional registrations and certifications. We have licensing guides through the Business Action Center. We'll make sure you have those links. That information, for example, the general contractor is required to have a registration, general contractor registration. Home health aides require licensing and certification. So there's a couple of businesses out there. Food safety, there's beauty and health. There's some requirements as well. So we make sure you know if there's anything in addition to the typical formation and registration process that you will need for your business. And then you'll have to open up a business bank account. So you want to identify a bank, preferably that doesn't charge you any monthly fees. Some banks will eliminate the fees if you either carry a threshold. Some will eliminate the fees if you have a certain number of transactions on the debit card a month. So you want to do your research. The last thing you really need as a small business owner is to pay monthly fees on your bank account. You will get a copy of these slides if you fill out a survey at the end of this presentation, and you'll have access to these links. These are just some examples of some of the things I have spoken about. where you can look for your business licenses, if there's additional needed. The sales tax booklet for New Jersey, what's taxable, what's not, sales taxable. You'll have to understand as business owners, your income tax requirements. This is the state income tax link that'll discuss how to pay estimated state income taxes. I mean, that's another topic of conversation, something you'll learn as a business owner, that even though you'll file for your taxes once a year, like everybody does, now that you're self-employed, you will be expected to pay estimated income tax payments over the course of the year. And you can set that up both through on the federal side through the IRS, as well as on the state side with the New Jersey Division of Taxation. If you have questions about how to start a payroll or what to do with workers, do you want them to be on payroll? Would you prefer them to be 1099s? Or what's the difference? We can walk you through that, talk about it. Here's some links that go into that, and the type of what you'll need if you're hiring somebody. And then there's always a question about insurance and workers' comp. We talk to businesses all the time about those types of questions, and we can certainly provide the resources for you to find where to go to get more info. I won't go too much into this. This is just pretty obvious. And these are the types of subjects that are brought up in our counseling sessions. Do you have enough cash to start your business? Do you need additional sources of capital? At the SBDC, we work with banks, lenders, SBA loan officers. We try to help a business who might need some additional startup funds to or looking for expansion, get their business plans ready, get their projections organized. It's very important, we feel, that business owners also have some sense of financial literacy. You know, it's hard. Not all entrepreneurs necessarily have, has taken an accounting class, so it's difficult because you're trying to run a business, but maybe you're not completely familiar with the income statement, the balance sheet, the cash flow. And that's fine. You can hire accountants. You can certainly get assistance, but it is important at this most basic level as the business owner that there's some understanding, and this is the kind of things that we like to do. We like to provide some webinars on this type of stuff. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there that go into it, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that as the business owner, you understand that you are looking always to take in more than you're spending. That's it. We want to make a profit. And sometimes that might seem obvious, and sometimes it may not. So it can get tricky when you're thinking about how much am I investing? Am I getting my return? So these are the kind of things that we can certainly talk about and help educate you with. And as mentors, we have business backgrounds. We're here to assist, mentor, guide, provide resources, but we're not going to necessarily be an accountant for you. Actually, we're not going to be your accountant. We do not offer accounting, personal accounting potential recommendations. We're not going to give legal advice, except to explain maybe what the law might be. You would have to seek your own counsel. So when the time comes, if we feel that it's necessary to speak to somebody else, we'll tell you. Go see your accountant, get a lawyer, ask the insurance agent, ask the lender. But we at least can be a mentor, and also we all have different skills. If maybe social media or marketing is something you want assistance with, you can request a counselor who has more skill in that area. And then lastly, we can help you get your state certifications. If you're interested in procurement or government contracting, we can guide you through the woman, minority, veteran, disabled veteran, and LGBTQ plus state business certifications. We can talk to you more about procurement and government contracting and any other assistance that's out there for small businesses in New Jersey. The NJEDA is a great resource. And always through our website, you can check to see what educational programming might be available. Some is free, most of it is free. Sometimes there's a small fee associated with it. You can decide. Okay, with that, we're going to turn everything over to questions. It looks like we might have about 15-20 minutes available for questions. I'm just going to explain that this top QR code goes to should be used by those who are not formed yet or registered and are looking for formation and registration, and you're really starting up and need assistance with that. Or maybe if you recently did form and don't know if you did it correctly. All the other types of items that are, if you're already in business and you have questions about counseling on any topic, perhaps the bottom QR code would be better for you. You'll get assigned to a counselor, and financing, all that sort of thing. You can get assistance. So Gloria, with that, I think I'm good for questions.
Thank you so much for all the information. We have a couple of questions. One is from Ruben. He's asking, I clicked sole proprietor instead of LLC and open business with the EIN number. How do I change my status with IRS to LLC with same business name?
I guess my question, that's on the EIN application?
Ruben, please confirm that for us. But I guess yes, because it was with the EIN number.
Yeah. My question is, okay, I see the mistake he made there. He meant to do LLC, he hit sole proprietor. But my question is, did you then go and form your LLC online after that?
We don't have that information.
Sometimes things like that really do require a quick session, because there's quite, these are the kinds of mistakes that do get made, and we can help you unravel it and put you on the right course. I'll just say that. I would need more information about how far you are in the process and what you've done and not done, and how to correct the EIN situation.
Right. I just dropped a link in the chat for you guys. And you can also put your camera in the screen and you can scan the QR code. For those of you looking for consultation. So another question is, hello, I have seen people register an LLC for $125 and others register for $25. Please, can you confirm the link where to register at $25?
I have no knowledge at all where the 25 is coming from. It is $125 to form an LLC in New Jersey, not 25. So that something might be missing. Maybe it's something else that they did. But there is no $25 to form an LLC. It does cost $25 to change a registered agent if you want to make it a change, but I'm sorry, you'd have to maybe make an appointment to clarify that, but it most definitely is $125 to form an LLC.
Right, and make sure that you are relying on reliable sources. So again, requesting a counseling will be great for those issues. Another question is, can an ITIN holder who is residing in New Jersey be able to register for an LLC and obtain EIN from the IRS website?
Yes, you can use an ITIN to get your EIN, correct. Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat what the form 1120 is used for?
Yes, that is a corporate, that is the return for a corporation, a tax return.
As we must enter a legal business name to get the EIN number. Will that, for example, be Samwise Tattoos or Samwise Tattoos LLC? It's like making two comparison and it's the same name, but one has LLC and the other one doesn't. So it's like, which one should they enter as a business name to get the
On the
EIN?
EIN application?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the EIN application, there's, it gets to the part where it says, tell us about your business, or tell us about your LLC. And it says, what is the legal name? On that line, you would put the legal name and LLC.
Another question is, what if I created or register an LLC and didn't really do anything with the company for a year or two, but now I want to get it going? Am I still required to file a tax return? Any checks I need to do with the state if I have filled the annual report?
As long as you're up to date on your annual reports, and that means you paid your $75 a year. It's fine that you haven't done anything. I mean, if you haven't done anything and you haven't had income, then you don't have to pay income taxes. There's a couple of caveats there. If at some point when you registered, you said that you'd be collecting sales tax and the government still thinks that you were supposed to be collecting sales tax and haven't been reporting, that's a problem, because they think that that's something that we would want to correct and make sure that the Division of Taxation knows that I haven't been operating. You want to turn off that sales tax collection option. But if it's just a matter of keeping an LLC in good standing, as long as you've been paying your $75 a year, and you know, the income tax return, if there's no income to report, then and you haven't done anything, then there's no income tax return. And if you haven't been paying your 75 a year and say you're a couple of years behind and you want to get everything in order, you can back pay them. They'll let you go back in and you can pay your last few years.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question is, if I forgot to register an LLC I created over a year ago, do I just go and get that done now? Are there any fees or penalties?
No, you could just go get it done. I mean, we'll do it with you. Just, you know, we'll show you where to go. Or you can go to NJ Portal. You'll see you go right to business registration. Here, let me show you. Oh, NJ Portal. Where was that? Oh. So here's the NJ Portal. So to answer the person who just asked that question about, I formed already, I never registered, I need to go do it, you would go here and then you would click on business registration. Get started, and then say, I want to register a business entity. Or if you're a sole proprietor, it would be the second one. And then over here, you'll see it's going to ask you for your entity ID. This is on your certificate of formation. And it's going to ask you for your tax ID. That's on your letter from the IRS, no dash. Put your 9-digit here. You put the formation number on the top of your formation document here. You hit continue, and your business should pop up. And then you can go through the whole registration.
Thank you. Another question is, what is the benefit of an LLC if in New Jersey, when for tax purposes, you still must file as an incorporated business?
What is the benefit of okay, what is the benefit of staying in LLC even, but
Even if you have
taxed
to
as a
feel the
corporation?
taxes as an incorporated business.
Oh, yeah. Well, LLCs are here. Actually, there's a slide on that. LLCs are very flexible and they're less costly to run than a corporation. So you can see here. Here, LLCs offer more flexibility than corporations with respect to the structure, the distribution of profits, and just the cost of running. You don't need a board of directors. You don't have to have shareholder meetings. You don't have to bylaws. You could have a couple of different, bunch of different owners, and not only when we mean flexible, your owners the percent ownership of the owners doesn't have to necessarily match with their profit share. So you could have like an 80% equity investor in the business, own 80% of the building, but a business, but only take 10% of the profits. So like you can play with it. Corporations are much more structured, when there's shares. So that's why that's the benefit. Like for you, if the LLC is the better business entity for you, but you can still take advantage of the tax benefit of being taxed as a corporation. That's why you see LLCs stay LLCs, but be taxed as corporations.
Perfect. Another question is, when registering with the New Jersey Department of Revenue and Taxes, how many NICS codes can we enter into the application?
It only takes one. There's only space for one. So I always tell people, pick the one that best describes what you do. You could have multiple NAICS codes that describe you, and that's great. And that actually comes into play when you're doing New Jersey state certifications, or if you're interested in procurement, you want to throw in as many identifiers as possible so that you may be eligible for, bidding for certain contracts. But for registration, it just takes the one.
Another question is, if you're a multi-member LLC, do we need to submit the partnership operations agreement into the application, or can we formulate it later as it is solely for business, legal, and operation purposes?
That's a very good question. It is not required in the in the formation or the registration process. It is required by the state to have. My understanding is that you'll get asked for it when you go to open the business bank account. So to answer your question, no, it doesn't have to be when you're actually doing the online formation, registration, and getting it all set up. There's no place in that process that asks you to upload an operating agreement.
Thank you. Another question is, the annual certification due date based on formation? The annual certification.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's due on your formation date.
How do I get access to a working bylaws document for the purposes of forming and registering a corporation?
I hate to refer you to the internet. I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking there are templates available. I mean, you can always seek the counsel of an attorney to help you with that. But for purposes of just initial research of kind of what goes into the bylaws and what the bylaw looks like, I would say do a little research online.
Right. From Cheryl, we have this question that says, I have a EIN number that I started 8 years ago and never actually formed a business. Is there a way to update that EIN, or do I need to apply for another one?
It all depends on what you originally applied for the EIN for. If you applied for an EIN for sole proprietorship and you want to start an LLC now, no, you have to get a new EIN for a new LLC. Let's see, what else? It really just depends. I don't know what your original purpose for that EIN is, what you said when you applied for it. Whatever name that you used, if it was for an LLC, that name has to be the legal name of the LLC. So we have to make sure it's available. So if you have questions and you want to walk it through that, can always make an appointment.
Sure. Again, the link has been put in the chat, and also you can scan the QR code that is being shared on the screen. Can you file taxes as S Corp 1 year and next year's as a member?
Yes, that's a great question. You can change changing your tax status. Absolutely, it happens all the time. I I just read what there are some fine print requirements of what point you do that in the year. I'd have to look that up, or you could ask your accountant, but the answer to your question is yes, you can choose something at the registration. A year goes by, you decide that that's not how you want to go, you're getting killed on taxes, you can make the adjustment for the following year. I just don't know off the top of my head what timing it is. It might have to be declared at a certain point in the year when you're making that change.
We have 4 more questions, and I'm gonna be addressing those in a few moments, but just so you all know, I see that some questions are being repeated. I'm not sure if it was because you guys were not there when we answered them, but I just dropped the link in the chat for you guys to see the recording, so we don't go over the questions again, and you can go ahead and see the recording. And again, Vanessa's always here. You can request counseling with her in case you need any more information on the one that she provided. So another question is, when do business have to file beneficial ownership information report?
Okay, so if your LLC was formed before January 1st, 2024, you have all of 2024 to get it done. After January 1st, 2024, if you form and register your business, you have 90 days to do your BOIR. My understanding is that starting January 1, 2025, they're going to cut that down to 60 days. It's going to get cut down. So this year they're giving business owners as they form 90 days to do it. If you're already an existing LLC owner, they're asking that it be done within the calendar 2024 year.
For the new requirements for newly formed businesses, is that information public, or is it protected by data privacy laws?
Well, how do I even answer that? I'm not the federal government. I don't know who looks at that, what's public and private anymore. But it's a really valid question. So yes, it's meant to be private. It's meant to be, it's part of it's managed through the federal financial crimes network, if that tells you anything. And it's meant to be looked at the federal level, or at least have access to it at the federal level. I don't know whose eyes are on it, but no, like you don't put that in, and any regular citizen can just look it up. It's not like a public database, if you will. But I will say, and not to get into too much because I want to get the last questions answered, is that this is a highly contentious issue. You can do your own research on it. I do believe there are lawsuits in place in other states, Alabama primarily, I think, that find this to be unconstitutional. So enjoy watching it from the sidelines, see what it's about. But my understanding is that it's still the law. And until we hear otherwise, that is the federal requirement to fill it out.
Right. Is there a DBA form that you get from the revenue office once you changed your business name?
The DBA is called filing an alternate business name. It is found on the portal, and you would log in all your information. It costs $50 for 5 years to do a DBA.
And then if I have a MC/DOT number now, I want to be a medical courier instead of transporting freight, can I change it?
Department of Transportation, I can't answer that on the webinar. I'm sorry. I would need a consultation for that. It's not like at my fingertips of how that all works. We'd have to look it up.
Great. Again, let me make sure that you guys can see the link that it's being shared in the chat. And QR code. It's there so you can scan it to request counseling with Vanessa if you have any issues, as she mentioned before. Um, the QR code in the top, it's for new informations and registrations, and the one at the bottom, it's for those already in business. So feel free to register, and I'll share my screen just to give you guys some final information. Vanessa, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is really, really helpful information, and yeah, I'm pretty sure that you'll be talking with some people from today. So just so you know, for our upcoming webinar this Thursday, we have Karen All. She's an NJSBDC specialty consultant as well, and she's going to be talking about discovering eco-friendly small business success since we're in April, and it's Earth. We have an Earth Day, and it's also Sustainability Month. So you can scan this QR code over here at the right and register for that. I'll give you a couple of seconds on it so you have time. And then, yes, just remembering you that we're here to support you. Again, if you haven't had the chance to scan your code or register to start your business and and talk with Vanessa, please do. And you can also go to njsbdc.com/startup. Vanessa, again, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you all for joining us today too. Just reminding you that this webinar is being recorded. Go to njsbdc.com and you can find the recordings there. And I also dropped the link in the chat. So thank you all for everything. Hope you have a great weekend. I mean, week ahead. Weekend. Looking forward to
Almost.
weekend.
Oh, we're trying to jump ahead. Yep.
Right. Well, take care. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.